Hey, it's Courtney. Welcome to my first vlog. I'm gonna take you with me while I start some tomatoes, and then I'm gonna kind of give you a rundown about what I'm doing here. So let me go ahead and grab all my stuff, and I'll talk as I move. So yeah, this is my first vlog, and it feels so weird because talking to a camera with nobody else around is weird. Like, period. It's just weird. I really just wanted to chronicle things that I've been learning in the garden. So like lessons in the garden. And if you hear my ducks in the background, that's just kind of the nature of the beast right now because I'm in my backyard and I have ducks. So pardon them if they get too loud. We'll see how this comes out in editing. And I meant to bring a drink, so I'm gonna grab a drink and then get started. So yeah, if you know me personally, then you know that I also sell clothes and skincare online, and so I do live sales, and like when stuff happens on live sales, there's no editing it out, so I appreciate having editing right now. But ever since I came out here, my ducks are trying to ask me for treats, so they're following me around. Here they are. So I'm gonna be sitting over there under this tree, and they might end up following me, but we shall see. Okay, I had to get a prop for something that I wanted to talk about today. And a drink. So I got my drink. Okay. So I'm gonna take a drink. Okay. So I grabbed this drink because I'm thirsty, but also for the purposes of that sometimes I'll get to talking and I'll get nervous or really excited about what I'm talking about. So I'll start talking really fast. And I do this when I do my live sales online, and so I'll start, there they go. So I'll start talking really fast, and then I'll lose my breath because of my nerves and because I'm talking so fast. And then when I'm talking, I sound like I'm panting, so, or obviously sound like I can't breathe. So a trick that I learned is to have a drink, and when you feel yourself starting to lose your breath, you pause and you take a sip of your drink. And as you're drinking, don't breathe while you're drinking, obviously, but as you're drinking, once you're done, take that moment to take a deep breath. Take a moment to get your bearings, and then go from there. I had to edit. So, again, thank God for editing, because my phone fell off the tripod. Okay. So, I like to, while I'm doing stuff or talking, I like to have my hands busy, because then it seems less weird that I'm talking to a camera. And this is, when I do the live sales, obviously I'm showing the products that I have, and so my hands are automatically busy, and it's easier for me to not allow my nerves to take control. So, okay, I grabbed this packet of seeds, but I don't think there's going to be enough in here. Okay, I might have to go grab another packet, but I wanted to plant these today. These are from Baker Creek. They're called orange hat tomatoes, and they're a tomato plant that's only supposed to get like 6 to 9 inches tall. I've tried growing this plant like at least 2, maybe 3 times, and I've been unsuccessful. I tried over the summer, and I think it was just way too hot. The seedling trays I had them in kept drying out, and so I think that kept the seeds from germinating properly because I wasn't watering it enough. So then the second time I tried to grow these, I was nervous that, I didn't want to ruin more seeds because these weren't cheap. And these were really hard to find at the time. So I bought 3 packs, and I traded some of them, which took up a whole pack. And then I planted and failed twice, which took up almost this whole pack, so there's only 7 seeds left in here. and I have 1 pack left. So, but I'm gonna try again. I don't want to ruin these. I'm going to try to grow them indoors. I have this little miniature grow light, so I'm gonna give that a shot because I think it's too cool outside for these to germinate properly. So I'm gonna try to grow them indoors where we keep it in the mid 70s in the house, and then have a grow light on them, and then once they're big enough, move it outside. I want to say the days to harvest on this, I want to say it's over 100 days. So I think I have enough time if I start it now. Once it's getting close to maturity where it actually needs a lot of sunlight to start setting fruit, I think it'll be warm enough where I can set them outside. And if it's not, then I will probably go ahead and invest in a larger grow light so that I can grow these indoors. The thing about growing a regular sized tomato, this is a dwarf tomato, so it's going to be really small. So any tomatoes that I harvest for like salsa or sauces or whatever, I'll need quite a few. So that's why I want to start at least 5 plants. I'm hoping to have at least 5 plants. The thing about a tomato that makes me nervous is, number one, I have ducks, and the tomato plant is actually toxic to ducks. So I don't want to grow full-size tomatoes out in the garden and potentially harm them. The second thing is, if you've never dealt with tomato hornworms, as soon as you start growing tomatoes, I think they just show up. So that's another reason why I'm kind of apprehensive about growing tomatoes outside, is I don't want them to show up. Because then if they eat the plants, and if my ducks leave the plants alone but then find the hornworms and eat the hornworms, I think they can be toxic to the ducks. So I just kind of want to start small to avoid any complications with what could potentially happen with growing regular full-size tomatoes out in the yard. So I'm going to try to grow these. They're the orange hats. If I'm successful, obviously I'll make a video and let you guys know how it went. And I'm going to try to grow them indoors. So anyways, I got the seeds. I'm going to plant them in this little bin that someone gave me, and I have these toilet paper rolls. I've seen this technique on like Pinterest, and people share videos on Facebook about growing in unconventional ways. So, or like ways where you can kind of reduce your waste. So I'm going to put the seedling mix in these, and then put these in the bin so they can kind of insulate each other. And then put the seeds in the seedling mix, in the toilet paper rolls, in the bin, and then have my grow light on these and see how it goes. So I'm going to first start out by mixing my seeding mix. This is the seed starting mix. I just use whatever seed starting mix I can find. My husband picked this one up for me. I want to say from Home Depot. I'm going to dampen it with some water and then start filling. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then I'm going to cover the seeds, and then that's it. But while I'm doing that, I wanted to kind of talk about this gardening journey that I'm on. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this in my little bin and then dampen it and talk to you guys about this journey. So I got this idea for a garden. I got it. I didn't really. I believe that God put the desire in my heart because I always thought gardening was cool. I thought the outdoors were cool, but it wasn't really something that I wanted to do. And I was talking to my husband this week about how, just the way that things are going, a lot of people are using the phrase uncertain times. And even at church, we were talking about how, like, right now is what is being called a defining moment. Just because this is something that a lot of people have never experienced before. Not that this is something new, because there have been instances like this in the world since the beginning of time. So this isn't things that are going on now. It's nothing new, but it's new to a lot of people who are alive right now. So with the pandemic and everything going on, basically the town that I live, we went on like a little lockdown, shutdown, self-quarantine time. And so people started panicking a little bit. Well, from where I was standing, it looked a little bit like panic, buying out the stores, stuff like that. And so I'm not really one who falls prey to that kind of idea or mindset when stuff starts to go awry. But what I did notice is a lot of people were behaving in such a way where, you know, like stuff that we needed as our family, like certain like staple food items, toilet paper, cleansing products, like they were being sold out. And it was frustrating because it was just stuff that we normally needed, just like everybody else needed. And we weren't planning on stocking up. We just wanted our regular amount of product, and we couldn't get it. So I did start thinking, you know, like, we know that at some point we should be able to get this stuff. We live kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, so sometimes getting produce or certain products takes a little bit longer than if we lived in a larger city. And so I just started thinking, you know, like if it really did get to the point where like certain necessities we couldn't get, like what would we do? And so obviously my initial thought was food, because that's a given. You need food to survive. So I did just kind of get that little bit of a survival mindset. Like, what would we do? Like, if we couldn't get basic food sustenance, would we be up the creek without a paddle, or what would happen? We don't have any kind of emergency storage, any kind of emergency food storage or anything like that. So then I thought, I want to start a garden. And right before all this happened, I thought, we had just purchased a house, and I thought it would be cool to have a flower garden. I had no desire or intention to ever grow any food, vegetables, fruit, or otherwise, because I was like, that's too much work. And I have 4 kids, and didn't think I would be able to have the time. So I thought, I wanted to grow flowers. I wanted to add beauty to the world, and perhaps if I grew enough, I could take some to the farmer's market, because I always thought it'd be cool to go to a farmer's market. But then after the lockdown and the panic buying, I thought, you know what? I still want to grow my flowers. I still want to be able to offer beauty. I wanted to grow the flowers, so if people were in a state where they felt like hopelessness or kind of succumbing to the things that were going on in the world, they could look at maybe a bouquet that I had designed, and it kind of give them a sense of hope, you know, like all is not lost. Anyways, but I thought, I think I would like to go ahead and grow food too. So if anything were to happen, then we wouldn't be caught completely unprepared. At the time, I also found this YouTuber. Her name is Jess. If I can figure out how, I will leave a link to her channel in the description box. If I can figure out how. I'm not that technologically literate, so, but I figured out how to do this vlog. So, anyways, I found this YouTuber named Jess. Her YouTube channel is called Roots and Refuge, and she's a homesteader. And I actually found her towards the beginning of this whole pandemic situation, and one of the first videos that I saw of hers was which crops to grow if you're concerned about having a food supply in the event of not being able to get food for your family. And so her video spoke a lot to me, and that kind of like really gave me kind of like the jumping off point of, okay, this is something I can do. I need to acquire the knowledge to be able to do this, so I can, you know, go step by step and make sure that I'm not like planting all these seeds and doing everything incorrectly and then have wasted a bunch of time. But anyways, I followed her, started watching lots of her videos and vlogs, and it was really inspiring to me, and kind of went from there. And so I've been growing this garden for a little bit over 12 weeks. When I first started, I did a lot wrong. So I started in the summer, and it was my first time gardening in this zone, which is 8A, and so I had a lot to learn. I lost a lot of crops, but it was a great learning experience. And so as I continued to grow my garden and learn more about gardening, and watching other YouTubers and people's vlogs and tips and tricks and stuff, I learned that gardening in and of itself is an ongoing learning process. And you learn so much about creation through gardening. And it's been a really beautiful experience. And so I just wanted to share some of the things that I've learned, specifically what God has been teaching me through this whole gardening journey. Because like I said, I really do believe He gave me this desire, and it's kind of like leading me through a new season. And there's so many things from just everyday normal life that you can take gardening concepts and apply it to things that are going on in your life, the journeys that you're going on. Specifically, like the term seasons. The thing about gardening is seasons are so important. Knowing what can grow in what particular season. And I think I've just been really enjoying God showing me things through this season, not only this gardening season, but this season of my life. And so this is a little prop that I brought out that I wanted to use for what I feel like God is saying to me right now, specifically. And I'll say that, like, at the church that I attend, we've been talking a lot about defining moments. How specific choices at specific times in your life set the stage for the rest of your life, or for something significant that is about to or is happening in your life. And right now, the things that are going on in the world, it's a significant moment. And so I'm so thankful that God has brought about this gardening journey at this specific point during this specific time to teach me something significant, right? So I remember the church that I grew up in, the pastor used the term Kairos Moment. And that was like a God-ordained moment where the decision that you make at that moment is going to have a significant impact on your life. And I believe me choosing to go through with trying to grow this garden was a Kairos moment for me. Because had I not, there's some things that I believe I wouldn't have learned about where God is trying to take me in my life had I not chosen to go and do this gardening journey. And I believe that there's more things that God wants to teach me through this, and a new place that God wants to take me spiritually through this. And so this is my defining moment. This is my Kairos moment. And one of the things that I've been learning over these past couple weeks, I've been trying to do some seed saving. So I grew these beautiful sunflowers. They're called chocolate cherry sunflowers, and I wanted to save the seed from them. I traded seeds with a lady online through a Facebook group, and so I got 10 seeds. And from those 10 seeds, I think I had 7 or 8 plants that actually came up. And like I said, I wanted to grow flowers. I wanted to be able to offer flowers to my community. And so I was able to offer a good amount from those. I can't remember if it was 7 or 8 plants, but it was such a joy to be able to grow those. So these are some of the seeds that I have got from them, and so the last few weeks on my kitchen table had just been like piles of sunflower seeds, and I've been working at it little by little to try to remove the seeds from the seed head, and all the while I'm sitting here picking up a pile. I'll show you what it looks like in here, so you can see, like, this is all the dried bits. This is not all seeds. Some of this is the dried bits of the sunflower heads, and then some of it's the seeds. And I've been trying to separate the bits of dried stuff. It's called chaff, the stuff that doesn't have any value in the seed head. And I've been trying to separate it out from the seeds. And all along thinking, like, this is so tedious, right? This is so time consuming. There has to be an easier way. And then I come across this video on YouTube about this lady who has an urban farm, and she farms stuff specifically to save seeds, and then she has a seed company, which I think is so neat. And I came across this video. It was made by the channel Epic Gardening, and so if I can figure out how to leave a link to that, I'll do that as well. I'll leave a link to that video. but the cover shot of the video was her holding like a bowl of seeds, and she was, sprinkling the seeds down. And as the seeds were falling, she was blowing the chaff away. And I was like, what? I had heard of this before, but it hadn't dawned on me to try that until I saw that cover shot. And I was like, what is this called? What is this called when you are saving seed and you're sprinkling the seed down to separate the good seed from the chaff, and you're blowing away the chaff, and it makes it a lot quicker to separate the seed from the chaff. And then I feel like God dropped it into my mind. It's called winnowing. And then I was like, don't they talk about this in the Bible? So I looked up those verses. And yeah, it talks about winnowing in different verses in the Bible. And so that basically winnowing is blowing wind through seed and chaff to separate the seed and chaff. And when you blow the wind through it, the chaff is a lot lighter. It doesn't have as much substance to it. And when you blow the wind through it, the chaff blows away and is separated from the seed, which is heavier. The ducks are eyeing my sunflower seed. So it blows the chaff away from the seed, and then the seed falls down because it's heavier, and then it makes it so much easier to separate the two. It separates the two for you. As I saw the cover shot and was thinking, I need to try this technique, it'll make things so much easier for me. God kind of just illuminated some things in my mind. And I felt like he said to me, like, a lot of times in the church we talk about refining, our sanctification process. While we're here on earth as ambassadors to Christ, we also are called towards sanctification. So that's moving in a process towards becoming more and more Christ-like. And so as we do that, God has to take us through processes, a lot of times which are not pleasant, to bring things to the surface that are not like him, so that those things can be blown away, burned away, pressed away. So the things that are not of value to God, the things that are not like him, the things that separate us from him, have to be drawn out of us, our sin nature, as we become more and more Christ-like. And a lot of times in churches, we talk about that as a refining process. A lot of times you'll hear the metaphor of like gold going through fire, or precious metal going through fire, and then the impurities rising to the surface and then being sloughed away, so that you're just left with the purest of the pure. And so that's a metaphor that, being in the church, I've heard a lot. But I don't necessarily always hear the metaphor of winnowing, but it's used in the Bible. And I think it might just be partially because of the culture and society which we live in. Not a lot of people grow gardens or have farms. But like a lot of people have a little bit more experience with precious metal, whether it be because of buying jewelry or whatnot. So God kind of said to me and kind of related it to me, like, this is relatable to you because you're growing a garden, but this is something that is being done throughout all the body of Christ, the winnowing process. And God kind of just spoke that encouragement to me that this moment in time, in this defining moment across the world, that is difficult for so many people who are losing jobs, losing loved ones, having a hard time figuring out how they're going to make ends meet. Overall, just a pressing time. That this is a time of winnowing, a time of refinement, a time where a wind is blowing across the entire world to separate the valuable from the valueless, the things that don't have any value. And sometimes process that creates a lot of pressure is needed. It's like I was saying when I was first trying to separate the seeds from the seed head, breaking it open, taking, kind of crushing. I had to kind of crush the seed head to remove the seeds. So I had to kind of crush it and then crush the chaff in with it, so it would be easier to distinguish the chaff from the seed, because if they were all the same size, it'd be kind of hard to distinguish. So I had to crush the seed head, the seeds would fall as well as the chaff. But it was a process, and first it was the crushing, right? And so then I was trying to tediously separate the seed from the chaff, and it was taking a long time. I needed to do it more quickly. That's the desire that I had, to do it more quickly. And then I came upon the winnowing process. And so not only did it make it a little bit easier, but it sped up the amount of time that it was taking, because I could, as opposed to taking the handful and then picking out the seeds and separating them, I could just drop it down and more quickly remove the chaff. And I felt like God saying, like, He's doing that in my life, but I think it's a process that's happening all over. Things are happening in God's timing. And if He's wanting to do things efficiently and effectively in a specific time period, then He's choosing to blow a wind. And He's blowing a wind. And He's winnowing. And it was encouragement to me, because I don't know everything, obviously. I don't know everything that's happening now. He's allowing me to live at such a time as this, where I can see His processes and see His goodness and see the things, the godly and positive and beautiful things that He can bring about during a time of pressing. They're still trying to get this on fire. So that's what I've been learning right now, is that sometimes when we're in the midst of a process, in the midst of a pressing, or in the midst of a winnowing, where it feels like it could be a storm, during a storm, wind is blowing, and the wind is oftentimes necessary to bring about a specific result. And so I wanted to offer some encouragement that if you're in a place where you feel like it's a time of pressing, or a wind is blowing, that there's a specific result that's trying to take place. So it's important to trust the process and know that the chaff is being blown away. And once the chaff and the things that don't have any value are blown away, then what's left is what is significant. What's left is a seed that contains the potential for so much life and sustenance. And that needs to be separated from the things that aren't life-giving. And so that's why the process is important. And if we can weather the storm, if we can run the race faithfully, then the things that are left that give life and are of value will be reaped. I just kind of wanted to share that with you. I didn't even get my seeds planted, but I feel like this video was way longer than what I intended, and even with editing, I'm hoping to get it down to less than half an hour. So, yeah, that's where God has brought me right now in my gardening journey. And I hope to continue to be able to share the lessons that I've learned in the garden. And I hope that you'll stick with me, and I pray that God will continue to illuminate things to us as we continue on with this journey. So thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, keep learning and